Hello, everybody. Today we have a queen representing the state of Maryland. Karen Rollings has been in real estate for over 40 years and has done an average of 110 transactions annually and is consistently recognized as one of the top realtors in the DMV, which is the DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia area, for those who don't know. In addition to being featured as a guest lecturer and trainer for numerous real estate brokerages in the area in the University of Maryland, Karen has a technical advisor featured guest on the HGTV series, Get It Sold and Sleep on It. She was also a guest on WETA's If You Lived Here. Everyone, please give it up for Karen.
Hello.
Hey, Karen, how are you feeling today?
I'm good, thank you.
Another day, another dollar, another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise.
Nice, Karen. So, Karen, walk us through what year did you get into real estate and what was the calling for you wanting to serve people in the real estate industry?
I purchased a house in 1979. I was 20 years old and I walked into a 7-Eleven type store and they had a little book that said you can buy a house with no money down. So I thought, oh, that sounds great. I'll buy a house with no money down. So I called the agent and he showed me the house and I made an offer and I was fascinated with the whole real estate process. So the next year I got my license and then I started selling homes.
Nice. And then, did the dot-com affect you at all in 2001, 2000, or was the area in DMV not even affected by that?
Each decade has brought with it more and different challenges. The dot-com thing was very interesting because things just started to unravel and people had bought houses with what I call liar loans, where they changed the rules so that if you had a pen and a pulse, you could get a mortgage. So people just started buying houses that they couldn't afford. And then when it started unraveling, they started losing houses by the thousands, which made the whole market collapse. So I shifted gears and started helping people with what were called short sales. And a short sale is and was a process where you owe more on your home. Let's say it's worth 300, but you owe 400 on it and you need to sell it because you're being transferred or you can't make the payments. The bank would agree to let you go and let you sell the house with a shortfall, with $100,000 still being owed to the bank, and they would forgive you of that $100,000. So that's what a short sale amounts to. And we're starting to see more of those right now, but we saw a lot of them after the dot-com mess.
And did the same thing occur in 2008, 2009, or how was it? Can you walk us through what kind of environment was it during then?
In 2008 and 9, the prices had gone up so rapidly that people really couldn't keep up with their payments. And some of the mortgages that they had obtained started out at a much lower interest rate. So I have in my portfolio a loan that one of my clients obtained. It started at 1.4%. The mortgage payment was $985 a month on an $800,000 note. But it also had what's called negative amortization. So each month when they made their little tiny payment, that got added on top of the loan. So now they owed more than what the house was worth, but the interest rate had adjusted upward, and now their mortgage payment was $5,000 a month. So those homes started going to foreclosure. So it was a mess.
Yeah, that was like a time bomb ticking, if you will.
Yeah, it was. And so I met with one woman and she had 4 homes that she had purchased and she couldn't make the payments on them because the payments had doubled. And her tenants were only paying $1,000 a month, but the payments were doubled at $2,000 a month. So she couldn't afford it. So when I sat down with her, I said, so what is your income? And she said, $20,000. And I said, $20,000 a month? And she said, no, $20,000 a year. And I said, well, how did you qualify for this? And she said, well, my agent told me that I could include everybody who's living in the household's income, whether it was verifiable or not. So they received the mortgage based on income that they really didn't have. And then when it started to unravel, they started losing the homes. So it was sort of a snowball effect, but with houses.
Yeah, yeah, those are basically ninja loans. No income, no job, no assets, practically. Um, that's a crazy one. And what are you seeing now? The pandemic, 2021 was a booming year for you, correct?
It actually started in 2020. So prior to 2020, we didn't have a lot of appreciation. I'm just talking about the DC metro market.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into other markets, it varies coast to coast. So you could have a different market in Florida than you have in Texas or LA. So I'm in the DMV, which is the Washington, D.C. metro area. So it's D.C., Maryland, Virginia, all those three little jurisdictions close together. And we are the nation's capital. So we're slightly recession proof. And we are the number one city in the entire nation for relocation. So that makes us double recession proof. And we have the military. So we're a unique area. So we're doing just fine over here, but we still did not have significant appreciation for a dozen years prior to COVID. Because when the market fell, I'll give you some like kind of quick statistics for the local area. And again, it's local. In 2000, one of my siblings bought a property for $245,000, which was very similar to the house that I lived in that I had bought 7 years before, and it appraised for $245,000. So the 7 years running from 93 to 2000 did not have very much appreciation. So let's go back to that $245,000 figure in 2000. By 2006, only 6 years later, my brother's same model across the street from his model, same house basically, sold for 649. Yeah, wow. So it went from 245 to 645 for roughly the same house. The other one was a little more updated, but still you get the picture. Then the prices began to fall as we went into 2007, 8, 9. The prices started to come down. So those same models went from 650 to about 450 at the low, and then they started crawling back up. And it took about 14 years to get back to where they were in 2006, which puts us at 2020, which was the beginning of COVID. And that's when prices went crazy. And they started going up 10 to 20% per year throughout 2020, 2021, 22. Anyway, it's been creeping up. Now we're stabilizing a little bit. The interest rates were also at an all-time super low during that time period. So let's go back to 1958. My parents bought a house in Silver Spring, and their interest rate was 6. Then 10 years later, my brother was born. Gosh, y'all are going to know how old my brother was. He's going to kill me. In 1968, my parents bought another house, and the interest rates were 8%. In 1979, when I bought my house, the interest rates were 9%. In the 1980s, when my husband and I bought our first house, the interest rates were 17%. So they rolled all the way back to 2.1%. I even know somebody that got a 15-year at 1.8%, something crazy like that. But about 2.5%, 3% during that COVID time frame. So then the interest rate started creeping up. So right now they're bouncing around in the 6s. So prices still have continued to go up this year. And now they're stabilizing a little bit. Interest rates are stabilizing a little bit. I tell people it's always a good time, at least right now, not always, but this year, it's a good time to buy a house. Interest rates are in the 6s. I closed on a house at 16%. So if the numbers make sense and you can afford it and it's a reasonable amount so that you're not house poor, you should purchase a home, because if you do nothing else, in 30 years, it's paid for. So the house that my sister and I bought in 1981, long time ago, we paid that house off at one point. Then we did refinance it and take it out to do some other things. But if you own a home, that's a good thing. And if you pay it off, that's a good thing. Don't use your home as an ATM machine. Pay it off. So anyway, here we are in 2024 with interest rates about 6.5%, and we hope it stays that way. So it's a good time to buy.
No, 1000%. Okay. But as you know, everything is cyclical, everything is temporary. Most consumers or most borrowers, they usually refinance or sell within 5 to 7 years. Do you think that's the case in this cycle, or do you think people are going to push it off 10 years because of 2020?
I think we're going to push it off 10 years. And I'll give my daughter as an example. The house that she bought, when her and her husband bought it, their interest rate was about 3%, maybe a little 3.1, 3.2. So that's a great interest rate. You don't want to sell that house if you don't have to. So even though her husband and her would probably like to move up to something that was a little bigger or a little better, it doesn't make financial sense to do that, because when you sell a house, you're going to pay closing costs and commissions. When you buy a house, you're going to pay closing costs and commissions. So if you can avoid some of those steps, like my generation did. So my husband and I bought a house, and then we moved up and bought a house, and then we moved up and bought a house. Each time we did that, we paid commission and closing. So if we could have gone right into our forever home, that probably would have been a better move. But we really didn't have that option, and interest rates were ridiculous. So a lot of the people in their 30s and 40s who bought houses at 2 and 3%, they're not moving up right now. So that's putting a hurt on the inventory, because we have very, very low inventory right now. And then you have the baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer. Those are people that were born between 1946 and 1964. And those people are staying in their houses a little bit longer because some of their kids are still at home. Mine aren't. I sort of launched them all. I said, go buy a house. So they're all up and out. But that's hurting the inventory. So the boomers need to move. And I think a lot of the people that bought houses at 3 and 4%, they should kind of stay put, because it's a good financial decision to do that. And some people have to move up if you get transferred, or you just have too many kids and then you have to move up. But it's a good time to buy, and it's a good time to sell. So don't be shy.
No, don't be, ladies and gentlemen. Karen, how do you explain to someone in an eloquent way in a third grade level that their wage growth is probably 3 to 4%? Their wage growth only grows 3 to 4% every year. The house that they like you mentioned, it goes up on average 5 to 6% a year. So some folks are still waiting for the rates to drop. But how do you explain to somebody that if they wait for rates to drop, more buyers are going to come into the pool to buy, and they're going to push the house prices even higher, and they might even get priced out if they wait and sit on the sidelines?
That's a tricky one. So what I'm telling people is the average appreciation per year in this marketing area is about 3%. Now, you have to take into consideration that some years it's been 10, but some years it's been a -5. So if you use a reasonable average like 3% on a $500,000 house, which is hard to find, let's use $600,000 house, that's an $18,000 appreciation per year. So if you wait 1 year, that's 18. If you wait 2 years, that's 36,000. And it just keeps getting bigger because numbers grow exponentially. So you're better off buying a house now and then possibly waiting and refinancing it at a later date. So interest rates go up and down. I think they're going to come down in September. I could be wrong. My crystal ball broke around 2005, and I don't think it's going to get fixed. So if you lock in the house price now, like let's say it's 600, next year it might be 700, next year it might be 750, but at least it gets your foot in the door, and then you can start making those payments. 6 or 7% is still way below 16 or 17%, and we're in a very stable environment right here in the DMV. So I think you're better off to buy now and get locked in than to wait for something that you don't know might happen or might not happen.
No, completely understand. You're totally right. If there is one piece of advice you wish you had received early in your career, what would it be?
Probably to get into a house as quickly as you can, even if you're coming out of college. So you graduate from college, you get a job making 40, 50,000 a year entry level. You have no money, but the state of Maryland will pay off some of your student loans if you buy a house. I recommend that you go and talk to your relatives because your parents are willing to help you with your college tuition. You could make a strong case for why they should help you with your housing situation, which to me is just as important, if not more important. Housing is a big deal. So if the parents can help you, we did what was called shared equity programs years ago in the 1980s when the interest rates went crazy. I was doing a lot of what was called shared equity,
Mm-hmm.
which means you don't have any money, but I have some money. So I'm going to be your partner and we're going to share in the equity when the house is sold down the road. So you bring in a parent or a rich uncle or a friend, you buy it together, they get a little bit of tax write off. It gets your foot in the door. It gets you started in your first home, and your parents can get a little bit of write off. Why not help your kids now? I mean, my kids don't need my money when I'm gone. They need some money and some help now as they come out of college. They need houses. And if you get them into a house now so that they're not paying rent, it's crazy. Like right now in my hometown, I live in a town called Olney, Maryland. That's Olney, Maryland. And a 2-bedroom apartment is $2,300 a month. So if you can get into a small house that maybe needs a little bit of work for $2,800 a month, but then you've got principal being paid down every month, and I'll explain what that means. If you're making a house payment of $2,800 a month, $200 or $300 of that every month is going towards the principal, your equity, if you will, in the house. So a payment of $2,800 is really like $2,300 or $2,400, and you're owning it, and the house is appreciating. So now the house is worth $12,000 more this year than it was last year. So that extra dollars that you think is going out of your pocketbook every month, it's a forced savings account into your home ownership. So if mom and dad can help you, that's huge. So I tell all parents, help your kids buy a house. It's a good investment.
You're a strong advocate. Everything that you're saying is facts, absolutes, and gems. I would say. Um, what was the biggest turning point in your career journey besides seeing the ad? What made your eyes light up and realize I'm about to take market share. I'm about to crush it in this industry.
You mean as far as home ownership or real estate sales?
And your career in real estate sales.
My career. Okay. So probably the biggest turning point in my life was my husband passed away when my youngest kid was 7. So he suffered from a brain tumor and he was gone very quickly. So I had to finish raising my children um, by myself as a widow. So my youngest was 7. I had one that was 14, one that was 16. And so they all needed braces and cars and college and houses and everything. So I started doing what I call better marketing, which means getting the word out there that you're in real estate, you're the expert in your area, you do more. Because you do more, you sell more, you take better care of your customers, you just go the extra mile to help your sellers and buyers get where they're going, which helped me financially, which allowed me to help them. And then I'm also an advocate of giving back. So if somebody calls me and says, hey, Karen, I want to sell my house for $800,000. Can you help me? I'm like, sure. And if somebody calls me and says, hey, Karen, I'm getting evicted from my apartment. I couldn't pay my rent. We had a family emergency. Can you help me? I'm like, yes, I can help you. I will help you not become homeless. So I help everybody. Housing is for everybody. Everybody needs a roof over their head. So it's a very stable career because everybody needs a place to live. Not everybody needs a car. Not everybody needs a haircut, but everybody needs a place to live. So I think having that mindset in my career to help other people has helped me grow my business in my community.
No, 1000%. You really have like you have a giver's game mentality. You do everything out of such goodwill, like from the heart and soul. I'm sure it radiates when people when you really help folks in your area. Is there any other big lesson that you have learned in your career?
Um, Probably just pay it forward. If you help people get to where they want to go, they'll remember it. And if you do a good job, they'll tell people. And word of mouth is probably your best friend if you do a good job. And obviously, social media has taken that to an all new level. But I just think, I noticed somebody in my town is putting up these little signs up on the telephone poles that say "Be kind," and I think that's where we want to go. Like right now, I'm watching every night. I'm addicted to the Olympics, so I just love watching the Olympics. I just wish it was every 2 years, but my brother says that's not possible because it takes so long to train. But if you watch the Olympians, they're all nice. They're hugging each other. They're loving each other, and they're all from different parts of the world. And that's how that's how everything should be in this country. We should be the country, that leads by love and caring for each other. And if you watch the Olympics, you get that. But I just tell people be kind and be caring, and you'll get rewarded. I think God is watching out for us, and we have to be aware that we're all here on this planet to do great things together. And in being together, I think we move forward.
We all have a purpose, and I totally agree with you. Karma is real. I think what you throw out into the universe eventually comes back. Um, what do you think is the key to maintaining a work life balance, and how do you apply it in your life?
Um, that's a tricky one. That is something I work on constantly is having balance. So in real estate, your clients come first. So some of your clients get up at 7 in the morning, and some of your clients like to talk to you at 11 o'clock at night. So I joke around and I say, well, my hours are 7-Eleven. Maybe I should change the name of my business, except that's already been taken. It's hard to find balance in real estate. There are some agents that are pretty amazing that can do it, and I'm working on it. So um, I'm working on it. My kids are in real estate with me, not all of them, but some of them. And I've got relatives then, and then I've got 40 other fabulous agents that are in business with me. It's hard to find balance, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to get to a level where I can take some time off with not having it have an adverse effect on my clients. But they want to reach you when they want to reach you. So, but I do have some good people that support me, and I think it's important to have structured time off where when you're off, you're off, but you have somebody really good who can step into your shoes, which I've got, and take over for you so that your clients still get serviced.
Not completely. Yeah, I'm sure you give your 5-star user experience to everyone that, and I'm sure the folks that you built a culture where they do the same. What's the most challenging aspect of being in your role, running like having 40 agents under you? Would you say?
Um, I think the most challenging part about real estate is balancing all of your sellers' issues and emotions, which is can be challenging at times. Like I had one seller who was in her 70s, and she misjudged how much time it was going to take to get moved out of the house. So I called her at 7 p.m. and I said, "How's it going?" And she said, "Well, not too well. I didn't get everything in the moving truck." And I said, "Well, do you want me to come by and take a look?" And she said, "Sure." So I went over and I was like, "Oh my goodness, we are not close." So I called my son Michael, who's actually not in the real estate business with me, but he lives closest to me. And he came over at like 7 p.m. and he's like, "Mom, it's 7 o'clock." I said, "Yeah, I know." And so we were there helping her move things out of the house until 11 p.m. Then he went home, and I called my other son, Jeremy, and he lives up in Frederick, and he drove down with three of his friends and two trucks at 8 o'clock the next morning and loaded all of her other stuff onto the truck. And she had inadvertently had the electricity turned off. So the cleaning company left. So I stayed and I cleaned her house so that the buyers would still close. And somehow we magically got all of it done. So I just have good resources, but it's, I pull everybody together and everybody chips in and does what needs to be done to get someone on their move.
That story is not only touching, but it shows your creativity and your willingness to execute on anything you set your mind to. I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, and then Karen, what's your advice? Say an agent comes to you, hey, I want to start my career in real estate. What's your advice to them to really end the year strong and take off in 2025?
Well, they have to get really good training. That's critical. And one of the bad things about the real estate industry is that it's not structured. So if you get a job working for the federal government or working for private industry, you probably go to work and they tell you this is what you need to be doing. This is how you're going to get where you want to go. In real estate, you're self-employed, so you don't have set hours. And some of the companies don't have good structure. So the company that I'm with is called EXP, and they have virtual training in a virtual world, which is really cool. They have 80 hours of training per week. So if you follow what they teach you and you do exactly what they tell you to do, you'll become successful. And I have a training program within our organization, and I call it the 7 Habits of Highly Successful Real Estate Agents. If you do those 7 things, you should have a 6-figure income within a year. But you have to do them. It's like if you join the gym and you don't go, you won't change. If you join Weight Watchers, but you never attend the meetings and you never change your eating habits, it might not change how you look. So real estate's the same way. It's a difficult business if you don't get in there and do the things that you need to do. And real estate's fabulous if you get the training and you follow the plan. It's like if you have a map and you're going to drive from here to California and you have a map in front of you or a GPS, you'll probably get there. But if you don't have a map and you don't have a GPS, I'm not sure how you're going to get there. I guess maybe follow Route 70. I don't know. But anyway, if you follow the training programs that are out there, you can be successful in real estate. And I think anybody can be successful in real estate. My cousin Kathy left the banking industry when she was in her 50s and joined our team. And she helps me with Leisure World, which is a over 55 community in Silver Spring, Maryland. And she's been very successful. My son Jeremy prefers to work with foreclosed homes and estates because the estate attorneys go home on the weekends. And clients who are deceased are very quiet. They don't ask you questions at night. So he likes that. So there's a niche for everybody in real estate. You just have to find it, and then you have to follow the rules. So I've got a couple of agents on my team who they do their mailings, they knock on doors, they go to the PTA meetings, they join the Rotary Club, they belong to the Chamber of Commerce, they go to the happy hours, they do all of that. So guess what? They get clients and they are successful. And then I have another group of agents who don't sell any real estate. And I call them my secret agents. They don't attend meetings. They don't attend seminars. They never take training. They don't show up for anything that we do. They never go in the world, and they sell 0 real estate. So that's a different group. I call them my secret agents. But maybe they'll refer business back to us. I don't know. It's pretty easy to get a real estate license. It does require some studying. The coursework is about 60 hours worth of work in a classroom, online or in person. And then you have to take an exam, and the exam's about 2 hours. But it's not like a 4-year college degree. It's not like a 1,500-hour training course that you have to take to learn how to cut hair, but it is 60 hours, and you do have to study for the test. there is some math and some reading questions and some law and a lot of agency questions, especially with the new real estate lawsuit that the National Association of Real Estate is involved in, that's causing all of us realtors to have to change all of our forms and methods of practice. So once you get your license, you need to go sell real estate, but you've got to get the training.
No, 1000%. I'm glad you're very pragmatic and not that you're extremely pragmatic and very, yes, you're a little theoretical, but you're very pragmatic, I would say. And then shifting gears a little bit, what's your favorite book, podcast, or article that's had a significant impact on your life or work?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. There's a lot of books I've read that I like. There's a series, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's really good, that talks about money and how you should handle your money and your finances. That's good stuff. As far as training books, there's so many. There's Keller Williams is a great real estate company that I almost went to work for, and they have some really good training books. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. There's another good group, Harris Rules, which I make my agents get that book when they start. That's a good book to read. So there's lots of training courses. There's a lot of YouTube videos that you can watch as well. I would say probably my favorite is the EXP World, which is the company that I work for. In the world, their training classes are great. I took a class on selling luxury homes. So I moved over to EXP in 2020, and I took a course on selling luxury homes. So prior to moving over, I had sold a handful of luxury homes. After moving over, I've sold dozens of luxury homes. So their training's fabulous. And if you just dig in and learn, it's good stuff. I've flipped probably 200 houses in my life, and that's a lot of fun. Everybody should flip one or two. And I've got an agent in my group. His name is Sam Gupta, and he's flipped over 200 homes, but he's done that in less than 5 years. I flipped my 200 over 40 years, so he is a rock star. But that's a fun thing to do. You buy a house, you fix it up, you resell it.
No, I totally get it. Yeah. You really have you've literally seen the whole web of the real estate industry, like the whole spectrum, I would say, from like one end to the other and everything in between. If you weren't, have you ever been driving or have you ever been like watching the Olympics and pondered like, how maybe if I wasn't doing real estate, I would do something else, or is real estate has always been your passion?
Well, that's a great question. So I grew up in a family that was sort of middle America. My parents didn't have a ton of money. My mom was a stay-home mom. My dad worked for the federal government. Brilliant scientist guy. Had 10 patents from the U.S. government. My mom was also brilliant. She went to college when women didn't go to college as much. And let's see, dad was born in 1920 and my mom was born in 1923. But they both went to college, great people, but mom was a stay-home mom. And so my parents didn't have a ton of money to put us into sports that needed money. So I'm 5 feet tall, and my parents put me in basketball. And I was really good. But if I had to do it over again, I would have had my parents put me in gymnastics because I'm really small. And I've got that kind of killer instinct, the drive, the like to win. But I just got put in the wrong sport. So to answer your question, what I want to do when I grow up is probably more teaching and training, but that's a little bit down the road. Like Colonel Sanders didn't start his chicken store, Kentucky Fried Chicken, until he was 72. So I figure maybe in a few years I'll do more teaching and training. But right now I like what I'm doing. I like selling real estate, and I like bringing agents in and helping them get started and get them up and running, and then bring in some new folks. But maybe do national training one of these days.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be a great coach and a great mentor to somebody because you've done your 10,000 hours, and you're literally just you're gonna help people just cut their learning curve because you learn through trial and error. You learn through someone else's trial and error, and I'm sure you've seen it all. from in your career. And then what's the most misunderstood thing about you, your industry, or your work, would you say?
Misunderstood. Okay, that's funny. So I had a friend of mine come to my house and he was dropping off something. He owns like a consignment store. And he had never been to my house. And he walks in, he goes, "You live here?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I thought you would live in a big house." And I'm like, "Why would I live in a big house? I'm just a small person. I don't need a big house." So I live in a really nice townhouse in a beautiful neighborhood, and it backs up to the woods, and it has a deck, and I love it. I wish it had a garage, but that's okay. Um, but I'm not like a flashy person. And then he says to me, he goes, "Is that your car?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You drive a Subaru?" I said, "Yeah, it's a great car. It's good on gas mileage." He said, "I would have thought you would drive a Mercedes." And I said, "Well, I did drive a Mercedes at one point in my life, but they're too expensive to fix. And the Subarus never need to get fixed. You just take them in every 3,000 miles, and they're just easy cars." And so I'm just a down to earth, regular person. I'm not flashy. I don't have lots of gold jewelry. I don't have a fancy car. I'm just a regular person. So that's what I would say. You've got this king and queen stuff. I'm not a queen. I'm just Karen.
But Karen, if you think about it, on paper, you are a queen, but in real life, you are super like humble, super humble, like down to earth, I would say. And then if you could change one thing about the industry, what would it be and why?
If I could do what?
If you could change one thing about the industry, about the real estate industry, what would it be and why?
Oh dear. Do you really want me to answer that question?
You know, we're making a priceless memory, you would say.
Okay. I would probably I would probably make it more difficult to get your real estate license. And I would probably have more training required in person. So I think one of the things that I don't like that has come out of COVID is that people are doing a lot of things online. And I think people get distracted easily online. And I think they learn better in person, where you have to show someone how to do something. So, this big real estate lawsuit that everyone's talking about, the talk of the town, um, I think that one of the good things that will come out of it is that it's going to cause newer agents, well, some older agents too, to be more thoughtful and sit down and do things a little bit the old fashioned way. So when I sit with a buyer, I've always explained to them, this is how the closing costs work. This is a piece of paper, and I write down numbers on it, and I show them this is what it's going to cost you per month. This is your principal, your interest, your taxes, your insurance. And I think we need to go back to a little bit of the basics where we're more thoughtful in our explanations. So, one of the things that I've had sellers say to me lately is, "Isn't it true that the real estate commissions are going to go down?" And my response is, the real estate commissions have always been negotiable. And I have always had a sliding scale for my commissions. So if one of my attorneys gives me a beautiful house for $1 million, I'm going to take that listing. But then if they give me a dumpy house in the middle of Baltimore City, I'll take that too, because I want all of his business. But I might charge a higher commission for a property that's $60,000 than I will for $1 million house, percentage wise, because by the time you take the pictures of the house and put it in the MLS and put a sign up and do some things, you're not going to make enough money to even justify driving to Baltimore City for the row house. So I've always had a sliding scale commission. So some of these allegations that they've made about real estate agents and what we charge and saying that our commissions are fixed, mine have never been fixed. My whole career, they've never been fixed. So there's going to be some changes and some modifications in how business is done in the real estate industry. But I think face-to-face meetings with people and spending more time explaining how these commissions work, how the closing costs work, how the process works, that's going to be a good outcome.
No, it truly is. It's gonna be like an intangible skill set. It's really like who can have the better Midas human touch with the customer, I would say. And then, what's the most courageous decision you made recently, and how did it impact you? And would you say moving to EXP in 2020, or what made you decide EXP, and what made you want to jump during COVID? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, that was a big career change for me. It wasn't the most courageous thing I've done in my career, but it's right up there in the top 10. So when I moved over, I had been with Berkshire Hathaway and Remax for years before that. And what EXP offered was a commission split that was much greater than any commission split that I had experienced before in my career. So I had flown out to Texas to talk to Gary Keller with Keller Williams, and I had talked to Berkshire, and I had talked to Compass, and I had talked to all of them because I was making what I call my final career change. And I wanted the best company, not for me, but for my kids. My daughter Maggie, my son-in-law Tony, my son Jeremy are all in real estate with me, and then 40 of my favorite family that aren't related to me. But I wanted the company that was going to be the best for them over the next 20 years. And EXP was hands down the best. So they have a real 100% commission program. So if you're an agent that's full time and you're selling 30 houses a year, they have a compensation plan that blows everyone else's out of the water. And it allows you to keep more of your commissions, but they also trade on the stock exchange. They have stocks. If you bring other agents into the business, which I've done my whole 40 years, when I was with Remax, I brought 12 agents over. Remax said, thank you very much. I didn't give any money for that. They did. And when I was with Berkshire Hathaway, I brought agents over. I didn't get any money for that. I just like real estate, so I bring people in. With EXP, you can grow a brokerage within a brokerage without having the liability of being the broker and all the expenses and all the training and all the drama that goes with it. So it affords you the opportunity to have a retirement income, to have an end game, to have stocks that will grow, to have revenue sharing, to have health insurance. So it's a very progressive company, and they're in 50 states and 24 countries and growing by the day. And so I wanted to be a part of something that was on the grow because my kids are ultimately going to take over my business at some point in time. So I wanted the best company for them.
No, they were giving that deep dive with the whole business model. I knew EXP does that. I knew a little bit about EXP, but you just explained it very clearly why EXP makes sense if you really want to grow a brokerage within a brokerage. And then, if you could eat dinner with one historical figure, who would it be and why?
That's a really tough question. Dinner with one person? You got me stumped on that one. One person to have dinner with. That's a really good question. I can't answer that question. There's too many great people that I want to have dinner with.
You can name 2 or 3. That's fine.
I can name 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey.
You get a car. You get a car. I love it.
Yeah, Oprah Winfrey. Bill Gates.
Richest man on the earth. I totally get that.
Glenn Sanford.
Why Glenn Stanford?
He's way up in EXP. So I would like to, yeah.
His brain.
He's a very impressive businessman, brilliant realtor, brilliant businessman. And he started this company. So I would like to have dinner with him. You can come along.
All right. Hopefully we can. Maybe one day we manifest. What's the story behind your most memorable success or failure?
Most memorable success. I bought 28 townhouses near my hometown, and they were like townhouse condos, and I renovated them, and I put them back on the market and resold them.
You made a killing. You crushed it.
I did. That was probably one of the bravest things I did, which in real estate.
It's amazing. Does any failure stand out in your career that you think that you don't mind sharing?
Oh, my biggest failure. Yeah, I bought a commercial project, and we were going to build mixed-use townhouses, and it was right before the economy crashed. 2006, 7, 8, 9. And I had some business partners who were not the sharpest knives in the drawer. And so they managed to mess up my deal. So that was a mistake because I never should have allowed them to be on one of the deeds, which gave them too much power. I should have remained in the driver's seat running my projects, which I had done in the past, but this time I did not. And so they tanked my project. So I lost a couple $1 million, but I got back up on the horse. It's okay.
The sun shall rise. The sun shall rise.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad you bounced back stronger than ever.
Well, you have to. I mean, like when I'm watching the Olympics, I watch some of these athletes and I'm like, are you kidding me? How do they do what they do? And they, for all those years and they get back up. And like Simone Biles, she is amazing. And I want to have dinner with her. So anyway, she's shorter than me. But her parents put her in the Olympics. I mean, her parents put her in gymnastics instead of basketball. Isn't that funny? So anyway, yeah, you get back up and, you just keep going.
No, of course. Who or what inspires or influences you the most in your work these days?
Who inspired me the most?
Yeah, what inspires you or influences you the most in your work these days?
Probably my children.
Aww.
You want to do right by your children. I'm their role model. They watch what I do, and they watch me get up and fall down, and they watch what I do, and so I have to do a better job. And now I have grandchildren, and now they're watching what I'm doing. So my 6-year-old grandson, he said to me, I think it was yesterday or something, he noticed that I'm not tall. And I said, that's okay. It doesn't matter how tall you are. You can still get things done. Makes no difference. So that's why I do it for them.
No, you're living proof of that. You're living proof of that. And you don't know how fast time goes until you get there. What legacy do you hope to leave behind through your work when it's all said and done?
I would like to be able to write a book or a training course or both, which my daughter's helping me with. She just had her third baby, so that was in March 25th. But she's going to help me when the kids get a little bit bigger. I want to do a series of books and training on how to become a successful realtor and how to become a successful real estate investor and teacher trainer. So there's all different things that you can do in real estate. I like helping buyers and sellers get homes, but I also like teaching and training people how to become successful in their career. It's really inspiring when one of your younger agents in their 20s, sells their first few houses, and then they get inspired, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch them grow as agents. And then I also like flipping houses. It's fun. And I think everybody should own a house or two. I tell everybody, if you can keep the first house you buy, if you can keep that house, that's a home run. Try to keep that house and then move on to your next house.
No, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. I love it. You're changing the trajectories of not only other realtors, but you're helping the trajectory of homeowners build generational wealth. So I commend you and I applaud you on that. My second to last question is, Karen, I'm gonna rewatch this when I'm 80 years old. If you can leave me one piece of life advice, what would it be? That could probably make me smile, or that really resonates with me.
Buy a house when you're in your 20s and then buy another one a few years after that and then buy another one. That's what I would advise everybody to do.
All
For
right.
one thing, you can't buy a house unless you have good credit. So it causes you to have good credit and save money and then invest it in yourself by becoming a homeowner.
No, it makes total sense. Makes total sense, Karen. Can't wait to tell you I have that real estate portfolio. And then what do you want to leave with the people? Do you have any other comments, thoughts, or how do tell the people how they can get in contact with you? Please share your phone number and email.
Oh, okay. So my phone number is 301 924 8200. And my email is my name, Karen, KarenRollings @gmail.com.
There it is. There it is. Karen, please stay on for 1 or 2 minutes. Um,
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard from a queen of real estate. She's dropped gems on us, people. She really did. Please get in contact with her whenever you hear this. And Karen, thank you so much for making history with me.
You're welcome.